Welcome to SBRForum videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are continuing our coverage of the main card of UFC 171 right now with Nick Kalikas from MMA oddsmaker.com and a brand new guest to our UFC preview shows, Nate Miller. He also is with MMA oddsmaker.com and he does a podcast called the MMA Analysis podcast. All right, guys, Myles Jury and Diego Sanchez. Now, this is an interesting fight. I think I'm going to pass on it in terms of betting. It's one of those classic, up-and-coming youngsters facing a gritty, tough, proven veteran who is looking to stay at the top of the division, and there's a youngster who's looking to get a little bit of legitimacy by getting a win over an established veteran, and this is Myles Jury is the youngster. He's 13-0 overall, 4-0 in the UFC, and he is the favorite here right now at minus 150, just a small favorite. And Diego Sanchez, gritty veteran, plus 120 on the other side. You think he's not getting enough respect being made an underdog to Myles Jury? Nate Miller, what do you think?
I was a little surprised. I thought Diego would be a favorite in this, and he's just a slight underdog. I was slightly surprised, to be honest. But since Diego's returned to lightweight, which I'm very glad he did. I've been wanting him to come back. I don't know, since he lost to BJ and he went back to welterweight, I didn't understand the whole situation. I don't know why it happened. But since he's come back, he has looked good. He's had a questionable decision over Takanori Gomi, and then also obviously what should have been fight of the year versus Gilbert Melendez. But yeah, he's looked good. But he's coming up against, I want to say, an untested prospect, because he did beat Michael Johnson. Let's all face it, everybody thought Michael Johnson was going to wipe the floor with Myles Jury, and Myles Jury wiped the floor with Michael Johnson. It was pretty amazing. And it's just a tested guy versus an untested guy. I mean, I'm just like you. I don't think I can possibly make a play on this. This is so hard to make a pick. Right. Diego Sanchez, we know, can take a punch, and Myles Jury, we know, hasn't really taken any punches. We haven't really seen his chin tested. So this could be really fun. Both guys great wrestlers, great strikers. As far as gambling goes, man, this is a tough call.
What do you think about the total? Because right now the market really thinks this one is going to go the distance. The over 2.5 rounds right now is minus 265 as a favorite at 5 dimes.
That would make sense to a point. I understand. I base it on one thing, and that's Diego Sanchez's durability. Able to take so much punishment. Right. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't stop. He's not going to get finished. And I think where that comes in is people think Jury is good enough that Diego won't finish him. And so I think that's where that comes from. I don't know. This is a tough fight to call. Negative 280. I'm not really leaning on the over, because obviously we haven't seen Jury's chin tested versus somebody who will pressure him really hard or is able to stay on his feet. So this is a big question mark for me, and nothing that I'm very confident in. So I'm not really going to give out too many plays on it.
All right, Nick Kalikas, the gritty Sanchez is an underdog for this one. Is that surprising? Is that where you open the line?
I open it minus 210 for Myles Jury. So, yeah, some decent action coming in on Diego Sanchez. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not that, I guess, mad about that. I'm kind of glad the action's coming in that way. I'll tell you what, in my opinion, barring a bad decision, which is very possible, because especially with the way Diego fights, I mean, the guy has all heart, he pushes forward, he's aggressive, but Myles Jury right now at this point is the better fighter overall. I think he's going to definitely outpoint Diego Sanchez on the feet. He's going to pick him apart, mark him up. I think there's a chance, I mean, Diego's tough as nails, but there's a chance Jury finishes him on the feet. I doubt it, though. I think Diego's tough enough to survive that. But not just that, I think it's going to be pretty clear who the better striker is in this case. I mean, the only thing really I see Diego doing is pushing forward. He does have some power in his punches, no doubt about it, but he is going to get landed on quite a bit. Now, the grappling aspect, I mean, Myles Jury's grappling is very underrated. I mean, he's got good takedown defense. He has been put on his back in the UFC, but it's almost been because of stuff that he kind of caused to be put on his back. And then he manages to scramble out, get good position on his opponents, or finish the fight from there. I don't think he's going to submit Diego Sanchez because, again, Diego Sanchez's ground game's legit. He's just a legit fighter overall. But I do think that no matter where the fight takes place, I think Myles Jury on the ground will probably end up working out of a bad position, landing in top control. Because Diego Sanchez at 155, in my opinion, hasn't been that impressive. I think he's a better fighter at welterweight, honestly. I really think Myles Jury is in a good spot here. I think he's going to be able to prove that he belongs amongst the top-level lightweights here, and I think he's going to kind of roll in this fight. The only way I really see Jury losing is seriously by a bad decision, and that, like I said, is possible. So the judges love Diego Sanchez. He's been on the right side of some controversial decisions. And, Myles Jury, sometimes being so young, you do tend to make some mistakes in a fight and, give up bad positions. So that could possibly happen. But it's Myles Jury's fight to win or lose, I think.
Nate Miller, you know what? In those past 2.5 minutes, Nick Kalikas actually convinced me. I'm now thinking that Myles Jury at minus 150 has some great value. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, he sounds very convincing. I definitely, I'm going to sway my opinion and lean that way.
I mean, look.
I mean, the big fact you were talking about the over earlier, and I can agree with that. I mean, Diego Sanchez hasn't finished anybody in about like what's it been, like 6 years? He hasn't knocked anybody out, which is crazy to think. He's such a violent fighter, but I mean, he's been to the decision in like his 6 fights. It's really drawn on, and so you got, like he said, barring a bad decision, like if this card does go the distance, you got to lean jury because you got to think he's not going to be swinging wild. Which that's like Nick said earlier, you got to, with the way judges are, you got to be scared, and they love the Leonard Garcia-esque style of attacking in the air around your opponent, which Diego Sanchez does do at times, and that would be a bit of a risk. But I just think the durability, maybe the over does have some value. But if Jury can't stay on the outside and work his wrestling and fight smart, not make any mistakes, like Nick said, I do lean that way now.
All right, so Nick Kalikas, you think that these odds are probably going to stay where they are? You don't anticipate like a big influx of money on Jury driving the number back up to -200, right?
I actually do. At some point,
do?
I think we will see more action coming in on Jury, and the line will probably maybe get around the spot that I opened it again. I mean, lately especially, it's tend to do that. The numbers have come out and they bounced around a little bit, and then when it comes down to closing time, I mean, the majority of the time it's kind of closer to where the original line opens, which is kind of freaky, but which is good. And I think that that's going to happen again here, because I think the more people that actually look at film and look at how this fight plays out or should play out, they're going to probably side with Myles Jury in this spot. I think a lot of people are down on Jury because of his performance against Mike Ricci in his last fight. But make no mistake, I mean, Ricci is probably underrated. Of course, his kryptonite's a wrestler, but he's very dangerous. So I think that Jury actually fought a very disciplined fight. I mean, it wasn't his best performance by far, but he had to fight a safe fight because Ricci is a lot more dangerous in several ways than Diego Sanchez. I mean, so I think he actually played it smart, and a lot of people are probably not as impressed with his performance in that last fight. So it's kind of reflecting the numbers now. But I do think more times than not, the line's going to probably climb back up to close to 2-1 or so.
Okay. My mind's made up. Jury at -150 has a little bit of value. Thanks so much, guys.